I remember when I was 8 years old growing up in Brooklyn. I shared a small bedroom with my older brother Kenny, who's here tonight, and it was attached to the back of the kitchen. And I got up one morning in early summer, and my mom and dad were at the kitchen table, and my dad was crying. And it's my first memory of ever seeing my father cry. And he looked at me and he said, "Something terrible happened last night, Davy. Robert Kennedy was killed." He stood for all the things that we believe in, all the things that we as a family value. We immigrated here, Eastern European Jews, forced out and really lucky to get out. But our story is the story of many ethnic and religious minorities that came to America for a chance at a better life. Robert Kennedy fought for the idea that everyone, regardless of their religion or the color of their skin, is entitled to their best life. He often said that we stand for human dignity and ending all discrimination. That is who Bobby Kennedy was. That is the profound legacy that we are reaffirming tonight, and that the values that my father instilled in my brothers and me. And that is why I remember that morning when my dad looked at me and said, "Bobby's values are our values. That is who I am, and that is who you are, David. And remember who you are." And that's why years and years later, I would turn to my own kids that are here tonight, Jordan, Allie, and Jamie, and I would often tell them, remember who you are. Sadly, the fight against hate and discrimination goes on here in the US and around the world. But it's not with armies and weapons, like Tom Brokaw's Greatest Generation. When Tom talked about that generation, he talked about their rendezvous with destiny and how they won the war in combat, in Normandy, across Europe, around the world, on foot. Today's battles are being won or lost with media content. I believe that content is more powerful than armies. And our generation's rendezvous with destiny is how we choose to use the power of content to deal with hate and deal with global warming of our planet and the loss of species on this planet that we share. Content can inspire or enrage, inform or radicalize, educate or mislead, enrich or incite. That's why I came to Discovery 12 years ago. Discovery is not a media company, it's a mission company. Our mission is to educate and entertain, and when we're at our best, it's to inspire and activate. We have the privilege to tell stories to over 1 billion people around the world every day, on 10 channels in every country, on every platform, in every language around the world. And when we're at our best, we can give voice to those who cannot speak for themselves. Here's what I mean. Stephen just talked about the documentary that we at Discovery are working on with him. It's 6 hours. It's called Why We Hate. It'll be on in March, and we'll take it everywhere in the world. And we'll run it, and we'll take it into the schools. And as we think about where we are, we could have never imagined 5 years ago when we started this project that the world would be facing the kind of level of hate, things that we in our generation thought was really moving in the right direction and behind us. Well, it's not. With Oprah and OWN, we're taking Oprah's positive voice and spirit around the world, needed today more than ever. And maybe most importantly for us at Discovery, our planet. Our viewers fell in love with planet Earth. It was a love letter to the planet, or maybe a wake-up call. If you want somebody to care about something, first they have to fall in love with it. And that's what we try and do when we tell stories. We followed planet Earth with Frozen Planet, with Life, with many of those documentaries that Tom talked about on what's going on with our oceans, on what's going on with ice melting, and how that's affecting our planet and on animal extinction, which particularly for me is the issue that I think is the issue that we as a generation have to take on. It's not political. We did a documentary called Racing Extinction. It's based on Elizabeth Colbert's book, The Sixth Extinction. But it's a real warning that 50% of the animals that were on Earth when we were born will be gone before our grandchildren are our age if we don't do something different. And 20% of the animals that were on Earth when we were born are gone. They already are extinct. We cannot let that be the legacy of our generation. We can't be the me generation. I'd like to thank Kerry, who I've gotten to know very well, partly through my daughter Allie, who was doing a lot of work for Kerry. She's now at Columbia Journalism School. It was a great meet, and from that has grown a real partnership. We will be in 30 million schools. We will take all of the important work that Kerry does, and we'll streamline it to over 3 million teachers here in the US and around the world. A deep thanks to Ethel Kennedy for her care and attention to this great organization. But I have a special thanks for Ethel. She's one of my heroes. She called me a few weeks ago. We had a very long conversation, and I talked to her about how I grew up and my mom and dad. And she said, "Give me your mom's number. She sounds terrific. I want to talk to her." So I hang up the phone, and I quickly call my mother. She was in Florida. I said, "Mom, Ethel Kennedy is going to call you." "Really? She's calling me?" So I said, "Yeah, I gave her your number. If you see this number, pick up." So they had a very long conversation. It brought great joy to my mom. And she got to, for about a week after that, call all of her friends and say, "Ethel Kennedy called." And my mom is here tonight, Gloria. A thank you to Tom Brokaw, who talk about heroes. I got to work with Tom for 18 years. It was a great mentor to me and someone we always looked up to, and someone who we can go to for advice and support, and true American hero. Thank you, Tom. On this, the 50th anniversary of Robert F. Kennedy's campaign for the presidency, I'm very honored to be receiving this award alongside President Obama, Governor Phil Murphy, and Bruce Broussard. It's been a great treat to spend time with you and to have this special night that we could always share together. And finally, I'd like to thank my wife, Pam. We met when I was 16 years old. We went to high school together. It did take about 10 years before I was able to close the deal. But we're married 31 years, and I'm a very lucky man. My children are here, Jamie and Allie and her boyfriend Trevor and Jordan, and my daughter-in-law Ashley, and have a wonderful family, and I'm very lucky. I also want to thank my brothers. This is a little bit of like a bar mitzvah for me. I was already bar mitzvahed once, but this is number 2. And so many good friends came in just for me tonight. So finally, RFK's fierce devotion to fighting against injustice inspired my father and our nation. When we lost Bobby, my father, like millions, cried, not just out of his own sadness, but his worry for America, the country he loved. My dad is not here tonight. He passed away 9 months ago. He would have loved to see me accept his hero, Robert F. Kennedy's Ripple of Hope Award. If Dad were here, he would remind all of us of what Bobby said. We stand for human dignity. That is who we are when we are at our best. And that is why my dad would always say to me, remember who you are. And why I will always try to live up to my dad's words, Bobby's values, and to this honor tonight. Thank you. And finally, on a charming note and a good transition, Carrie and I were having lunch a few weeks ago, and she told me an extraordinary story that if her dad were elected president, and we all know or can think about what a different world it would be if that had happened, that he intended to change the national anthem to "This Land Is Your Land." So please welcome the Vi Higginson Sing Harlem Choir and some special guests for "This Land Is Your Land." Thank you so much.